Welcome everybody. This will be the last episode of the series where we're implementing gameplay logic, and today we'll talk about battle state. So winning, losing, or determining that the battle is so far undecided. So we already have a battle, and I think we should start making sure that the battle also has a state. So let's go into our test and create the first new test. We'll create one that says a new battle is in state undecided. Okay, so let's create a battle. And then we assert that the battle state is, we call this undecided. Of course, this doesn't yet compile. However, if we create, let's go to our battle. Let's create an enum called battle state that holds cases like the battle state, and the first one is undecided. And let's create a variable. We can call it state of type battle state, and we return undecided. Run test. Okay, now let's think about defeating entities. So I want to write a test called, the first case will be when all entities are defeated, state is a draw. So again, we need a battle. But then we need to set all battles entities current HP to 0. And then we can assert that the battle state is a draw. So we need to add this case. And now we can run the test. And the test fails because even though we're setting all entities as with 0 HP, they're not really defeated yet because we never defined what defeat is. So we should go into our entities. And let's go to our entity test, and let's see, we have our take damage tests here. Let's create a new test that says take damage if HP becomes less than 0, is active, is false. So we're saying we determine if an entity is defeated by determining whether it is active or not. So we need an entity, add a position, then we make sure that it takes damage for the amount of current hit points it has, so then it should become 0. And then we can assert that our entity is active, is false, but that value doesn't exist yet. So let's go into our entity and create a computed variable is active and just set it to false. Okay. The other test still fails. So we can now work on this test again and make sure that if the entities that AP is bigger than 0, if we have more than 0, then we return undecided, else we return a draw. Now we should actually use our new isActive variable. Okay, let's see what happens. Now this test passes, but the other one fails because we are always setting it to inactive. So we need a bit more logic. Where is our entity test? Let's solve this by adding another test. Take damage if HP does not become less than 0. IsActive is true. So again we take an entity. This time we do a bit less damage. And we assert that IsActive will become true. So obvious this test will fail. But we can make it pass by returning current HP is bigger than 0. So now these two should both pass. And also our battle test now also passes. So let's go back to battle test and see what else we have, because we now have the undecided case and the draw case. We also need to find the winning case. So let's say when all entities of other teams are defeated, state is 1. So again we need our battle. We set almost all entities to have an HP of 0, except for 1. This needs to be an I. An I. So 1 will be left. And we should get back the 1 case. We should just get back assert equal that battle.state is 1. Okay, so let's add that case. Let's see if we can build and run tests. And let's see. So this one fails because we're not checking the win case yet. So let's see. So if no entities are if not all entities are dead, we have an undecided case. Else we have a draw case. But what if all entities of a certain team are dead? So we could say, let's see, how can we do this? Let's say we have our active teams, This will be our, or let's call them undefeated teams, are our teams. And we'll filter entities. This is a bit tricky. How do I want to do this? Let's first make it a bit easier. Let's take all our active, our undefeated entities. Those are our entities filtered and is active. Then we can find the teams. Undefeated teams is our undefeated entities. We'll filter the ones. Now we just need to convert these into teams. So we can first map these into teams, but then we get a double. So we can reduce these into an array of strings. Result and team name in. If result contains team name is false, then we append team name. Now we can switch on undefeated teams.count. If there are 0 undefeated teams, then we return a draw. If there is 1, we return a win, and otherwise we return undecided. We can get rid of this. Let's see if this passes. Okay, so the test passes. So we know that a team won, but we don't know yet which team won. So I think it could be useful to get that data as well. So let's say we have a test when all entities of other teams are defeated. One state contains a winning team. So again, we take our battle and all these entities, and then we want to make sure that we get a team name from battle.state, else we'll fail the test. Expected one state, found something else, and return. And if we have a one state, then we assert that team now contains AI2, because that's the team name of the last entity, the one that's not has its HP set to 0. So this one will get an associated value. Team, and this will be a string. And now we need to pass in that value as well. So this will be, the team will be the undefeated teams, the first value, and this means that this one should now let us get the team, but this one now fails because we need to get the associated value first. We don't need the team that won, but just that we have the correct state. We don't need the assert anymore. And this one should conform to equatable. Okay, let's run this test. Okay, cool. All the tests pass. Let's see if we can start using this. So in our content view, first I'm going to show the current state. So we have the current team. Let's start with the state. This will be view model.battle.state, and we'll give this a headline, and we'll make the text white so it's easy to read against the dark background. Let's run. So we let our enemies act. Let's move our rogue. Let's attack. Attack once more. And another attack. This takes a bit. Okay, so this one now has a negative value. We can go here. Notice that the knight is still there, but we'll fix that in a bit. We can attack. And now the state is the one team player. Okay, so far so good. There is one problem though. Well, there are several ones, but the first one I want to tackle is this. We have the button that lets all the enemies act and automatically sets them to have a current action. And those actions get completed, even if the entity is inactive. So what I want to do is I want to make it that the active team is determined by whether an entity is active or not. So I'm going to create a new test in the turn order part of battle state, and I'll say func test only active entities determine active team. So we'll create a battle. We'll set the first one has acted, and we'll set the second one to current HP is 0, so this one is defeated, and then we will assert that the active team is AI 1. So let's see. And this one fails. And we can fix this by making sure that active team only looks at active entities or undefeated entities. I say we extract this one into its own variable. And now we can, instead of active team, we can do undefeated entities, the first one, and don't take the other ones into account. And now this should pass. Okay, so all the tests are successful. Second, I don't want to show an entity that is defeated on the screen. For now, I'm going to set the current HP of these things to 1, so the test will go a bit faster. And in our game scene, what if instead of entities, all entities, we look at only the undefeated entities. So let's take our rogue, let's attack, and now the entity is gone. You might decide that you find this enough. I think it's not very pretty, so I'm going to revert this one. I'm going to choose a slightly different solution. First, I'm going to create an extension on entity, and I'll create a variable called should_draw. This will be a boolean, and for now we'll just say is active. If it's active, we should draw, and we'll create a variable called entities to draw, which is entities filtered is active. This brings us back to what we had, but we can do a bit more now. So for instance, what we could do is make sure that it's active. We should draw if it's active or if current action is not nil. What we can do is we can create a new action. Let's go into our entity test and let's create a new test called func test take damage. Sets current action to defeat action when the current HP is 0 or lower. So we create our entity, let it take damage, then we get the current action, and we assert that current action is a defeat action, one that we still need to create. So let's create a new action. This doesn't need anything in particular. Let's run the test. This one doesn't pass yet because we should check in our take damage function if we have less than 1 HP and set the correct action. So if current HP is less than or equal to 0, then current action is a defeat action. Else current action is the take damage action. Let's see, the test fails. Oh, because we're taking a bit too much damage, let's go back into our entity and revert the HP. Okay, so all the tests now pass. This means that we can also create an animation for defeat. So let's go into a game scene plus animation file and create an animation that shows a defeat. So let's create defeat animation for entity. This returns an SK action. We need a stunt double. We need an animation. We will create and use the take damage animation again. And we need a complete action. And then we need an action that's a sequence. So we'll first play the animation, then we'll scale Y to 100 and have a duration of 0.25. And then we will hide the thing, and then we'll run the complete action. So we'll hide the sprite and return the action. Then we also need to make sure that we use it here. So if it's a defeat action, then we return create defeat action for entity. And we should now be able to defeat our entity. Let's make sure that we do a bit more damage for now, so we can quickly show the result. So we move. We attack. And we don't see the animation yet, so that's something we need to check for a bit. So let's go into our weather game scene. Oh, we need to shoot draw one here. Okay, let's see what happens. So let's move. Let's attack. You see the hit, and then it disappears. And we can let the enemy stack. Can move. We need to move a bit closer. We can attack again, and we can see that we won. You might have noticed that once you defeat an enemy, yeah, I'm sorry, let's quickly make it a bit more damage again. We can attack. So it's now gone, but you can still selected. It's technically still here, so that's what I want to do next time. Also, and that's I think a bigger problem, if I do move, I can't go here yet because it's still an occupied tile. I can move here, and I can even attack this position. So what I need to do is, I want to do as a final thing for today, I need to make sure that in our actions, let's go to our move actions, that reachable tiles ignores inactive entities. So I need an entity and another entity. Let's see, this is as good a place as any. The other entity, current HP should be 0. Then we have a maybe move action. There's a move action dot make in our example map for entity targeting other entities position, with all entities are entity and the other entity, and then we assert not nil or maybe move action. So let's see, so I should be able to move into the position of a dead enemy. So let's first see if this test fails. And it does. Then let's go into our action, and for our move action, we have our reachable tiles here. We have our occupied tiles that does all entities. Before mapping, I'm going to filter. I only want the ones that are active. Let's see if this helps. Okay, now the test passes, and I think we need to do the same thing for attack actions. So let's create a test for attack actions. Test attack action make returns a nil when position of inactive entity is passed in. So again, I need an entity, an attacker, and a target. Let's see, our target should be in the right position. Then we have a maybe attack action. That's an attack action dot make in our example map for entity. That's the attacker. This is target's position, and we pass in the attacker and the target. Target should have a 0 HP, and then we can assert that the maybe attack action is nil. So let's run test. Test fails. Let's go into attack action. Let's see, our reachable tiles. Where do I want to do this? Let's see, I have a target entity here. I think the easiest solution is to do a guard here and say guard target entity is active, else we return nil. Let's run test. Okay, let's quickly build and run and see if this helps. So let's move our rogue. Let's attack. So now the rogue is gone. I should be able now to move into this position, and I can. I should also be able to, I can no longer, let's move out of the way for a bit. I can no longer attack this empty position. So I think for today we are done. Next time we'll do a bit of cleanup in the UI, do the panning and the zooming, and also make it so that while an animation is running we can't click on anything else or issue other commands. Thanks for watching and have a good day.